It's the last week of the year and 2015 has been absolutely amazing. Now that really depends on the kind of year you had. Then you would be like, oh, the year went really fast, or oh, the year was okay, it was alright. I would love to know what kind of year you had. But you know what? It's the last week and there's going to be all this talk about like, where did the year go? Time flies so fast. Man, I'm getting really old. But what about taking some time out and looking into the future and looking at the kind of year that you will have in 2016? Resolutions are so passé. What you ideally should have, and which is something I had in 2015, is goals. Ideally, you want to have 3 of them, a small, a medium and a large one. So, putting me as an example, in 2015, my small goal was to start a YouTube channel, which I did. Whack! My middle goal was that I should have a new show on television, which I did. And my largest goal was that I would have a viral video, wah wah, which I didn't have. And I wonder why. Is it just maybe it could be because the people in the tribe, all 30,000 of you, decided not to share my videos? If you care, you need to share. If you care, you have to share. And then maybe I can achieve my goal in 2016. I would love to know in the comment section from you what it is that your 3 goals are. Your small, your medium and your large in 2016. All this talk about where did the year go, where did the year go, man, time flies by really fast. All of it really depends on one major theory. Time flies faster as you get older. This also depends on 3 major things. Your age, of course, the kind of year that you had. Was it a good year, a bad year, a rocking one, medium, satisfactory? And lastly, the kind of memories that you created through the year. Ask a 50-year-old if the year flew by and ask a 5-year-old the same question, you're pretty much going to get varied answers. For example, 1 year for a 5-year-old is like what? 20% of their entire lifetime. And the same 1 year for a 50-year-old is just only 2% of their lifetime. As people age, they tend to pay a little less attention to time. But I also think it's not only got to do with age, it also differs from culture to culture, the way that we perceive time. Americans will always say, hey buddy, I'll be back in 5 minutes. While the same passage of time for a Middle Eastern person will always be interpreted as 15 minutes. And in India, it's always bas 2 minutes yaar. But if you go according to Indian Standard Time, those 2 minutes could pretty much be anything from 30 seconds to an hour. It also boils down to how we perceive time. To state the most obvious example, having a good time, time flies by. Having a boring time, time slows down. Another way to trick your mind into making a boring task a little more enjoyable is try and overestimate the amount of time it will take for the task to get over. That's why at theme parks, the waiting line is always overestimated, so that by the time you actually get to the roller coaster, you're like, hey, dude, that happened much faster than expected. And lastly, your perception of how the year flew by depends on your memory of how the year was. Researchers have found that we tend to perceive time a little differently from our memory than from the time when those events were actually taking place. So if I have to boil it down to an example of, let's say, a vacation. You're having a great time, there's so much going on, and you're like, man, that holiday flew by really fast. A few months later, when you sit down and you think back on that holiday from your memory, your perception of it is actually reversed. It seems much longer than it actually did feel at that time. So this year on 31st December 2015, when the clock is coming closer to 12 o'clock and you're sitting with all your friends with that drink in your hand and everyone's talking about how the year flew by, remember, it's all got to do with your perception of time. So as the father of science, Albert Einstein himself said, time is relative. And what you do with the amount of time that you have on this big blue marble, well, it all depends on you. What you want to do with your time, the kind of person that you want to be, and how you choose to live your life. I would just boil it down to being nice. So moving forward to 2016, don't set yourself laws and resolutions, something that will stop you from having a good time. Instead, set yourself a goal. So be nice, and I think it's high time that the tribe has a new line. Share this video and help increase the tribe. I'll catch you again very soon. Till then, ciao.
जब फटके हाथ में आती है ना, चेहरा कुछ चूसा हुआ लगता है. Please welcome the wild card entry, Alisha Luna.
In the Indian subcontinent, initially, rhinoceros were mostly found along Pakistan and the Indo-Burmese border. Delhi's turned around and said that you can only use odd and even number plates on certain days. Hopefully, that is something that will work. In fact, this is a list of like a number of cities where it did work just fine.